Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today. It's a very pleasant start to the day down here in West Sussex. Lots of spring-like feeling in the air, so it's a great pleasure to see so many of you with us. My name's Jeremy Jaley. I'm Business Development Lead here at Smart Impact. We specialise in helping membership organisations to modernise the way they manage members, deliver services and engage with their stakeholders. Over the last 3 years, we've been developing a specific practice in AI for membership organisations, and we're really looking forward to sharing some of our insights from this with you this morning. I'm joined by my fantastic colleague, Chris Lightley, who is a Microsoft technology consultant here. And Chris is going to be leading our demo of AI tools in the Microsoft ecosystem this morning. Today, we're planning to show you how modern AI tools can unlock significant benefits for membership organisations that will help you to run your businesses more efficiently and build stronger and more engaging relationships with your members. And we're looking forward to diving into the technology to do this very shortly. But before we do that, I do need to just start with a couple of words on webinar etiquette. We're recording the session this morning, so please don't feel obliged to take copious notes. Sit back, have a cup of coffee, let yourself be immersed in the content. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A box. You can find that at the top of the screen and it will pop up on the right hand side, and we'll aim to respond to questions during the presentation or perhaps at the end. And after the session, we're going to be sending a copy of the recording and our slides to everyone, so you'll get to keep these for provenance and hopefully might be able to share them with some of your colleagues if what you find we present is interesting. So I'd like to say a few quick words about Smart Impact and why we think this is such an important topic. Smart Impact is a Microsoft partner that works exclusively with professional membership organisations, and we help them to use Microsoft technologies to engage with their members, deliver benefits and services, and streamline their operations. I'm sure it won't have escaped anyone joining this session this morning that AI tools such as large language models, machine learning, natural language processing, generative AI, computer vision are offering new and innovative ways for organisations to interact with their members and to use the information that they hold about stakeholders in much more creative and personalised ways. This is a very exciting evolution in how digital tools can help membership organisations to fulfil their objectives. And at Smart Impact, we're very excited to be at the forefront of this in the sector and to be doing it enabled by Microsoft's technology and their investment in AI. And as our exclusive focus is on the membership sector, we also bring specific experience into how to make this work for member-led organisations. Just in terms of what we do, our practice is focused on 4 key areas that enable membership organisations to modernise their digital platforms. We build membership management systems on Dynamics 365, which is Microsoft's flagship CRM. We develop data-driven portals and websites using the Umbraco content management system. We have a highly experienced technical team who design and build high-performance data architectures using Microsoft Azure. And this allows organisations to handle large-scale data and processes which are absolutely foundational for AI adoption. And over the last 3 years, we've built a successful award-winning practice focused on helping organisations to adopt AI tools in a practical and well-governed way. And we're very proud to be the largest independent Microsoft partner focused exclusively on the membership space. And we have over 70 fantastic colleagues in our technical teams that deliver this work for our customers. So one of the objectives of today's session is to provide an introduction to the latest and greatest tools that Smart Impact is already using with our clients to unlock AI transformation. And to tee this up, I want to just spend a couple of minutes just focused on Microsoft's vision for AI. And we've drawn quite heavily on Microsoft's collateral to underpin this. So firstly, Microsoft always makes the point that AI isn't about technology for technology's sake. It's about results. Used well, AI tools enrich employee experiences, cut out repetitive and often dull busy work, and can fuel creativity. And for membership bodies, it can transform engagement with members, offering more personalised communications, faster response times, and new ways to connect with the diverse range of individuals that most organisations are interacting with. AI can also reshape your business processes, turbocharging automations like renewals or events and enabling smarter day-to-day workflows. And actually, what we've found at Smart Impact is that just a small infusion of AI into an automated business process can make a huge difference to its overall effectiveness. You don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel, but bringing a little bit of AI into what you're already doing can really, really improve things. And finally, I think very importantly for professional bodies, trade associations and trade unions, who all have a vital role in communicating best practices to the sectors that they serve, adopting AI can help organisations to lead on innovation and give you opportunities to demonstrate the potential that AI has when it's used responsibly and strategically. But these outcomes don't happen automatically. For success, organizations need to be strategic, people focused, and deliberate. And as per this screen, this means asking the right questions and thinking about where AI can genuinely add value to your organization. So, which of your teams are ready and able to innovate, and how can you stay member and service centric in what you deploy? Obviously, we're going to be spending a lot of time this morning focused on technology. And in terms of technology, Microsoft's roadmap is really focused on three strategic product development priorities, which guides everything they're doing. So firstly, inescapably, they're building lots of agents and building agents that actually undertake processes, not just generative assistants that ask for questions or write copy. And Microsoft is building loads of these, often with the intention of demonstrating the art of the possible to help organizations to do their own thinking about where they could take AI tools in the future. Secondly, they're rethinking the architecture and usability of all their apps. And I think for technologists, this is probably one of the most interesting areas because AI is driving a real paradigm shift in how people interact with software and applications. In the past, humans had to go looking for insights and information in the systems that they're using. So be that searching through files, trawling through emails, or looking up records in CRM and databases. But increasingly, AI is enabling insights and next steps to be surfaced to users proactively. So if you think about it, fundamentally change is how you think about software development and user experience. And Microsoft is thinking extremely hard about that and working out ways to bring information to users that guides actions and next steps. And I believe that that's going to be an area where there is going to be a huge amount of innovation coming thick and fast over the next few years. And finally, they're rethinking collaboration, using AI for very practical tasks such as handling meeting notes, setting up follow-up actions, and updating systems of records in CRM without people actually having to go and do it themselves. And that enables people to spend more time on meaningful work. And so there's a lot of focus on using AI to support and streamline collaboration and day-to-day tasks. And of course, that's building on Microsoft's leadership in this space with applications like Outlook, Teams, and SharePoint. Now, in terms of products, you'll probably be relieved to hear that we're not talking specifically about every app on the screen today. But if you're using Microsoft applications in your day-to-day work, then I imagine it's impossible to ignore that they are building AI capabilities and features into all of their product categories. And I suspect this is where a lot of people will already be seeing Microsoft AI most prominently. So new features, new co-pilots, new ways of searching and sorting information appearing in the tools that you're using every day. And they're also building AI tools into the services that partners like Smart Impact use to configure CRM and build automations and reporting for our clients, which makes it easier and quicker for us to support them. And another huge benefit, as this can drive cost savings on to end user organizations by making us quicker at what we're doing. And of course, Microsoft are building tools for developers as well to make coding and app development easier, safer, and faster. For the purpose of today's webinar, and Chris, quick warning, I'm going to be coming over to you pretty shortly to get us started on the demo. There are really three tools that we're going to be showcasing in detail today. So the first is Microsoft 365 Copilot, and this is probably the first AI-specific Microsoft tool most people would have interacted with because it's built right into the apps that your team are using on a day-to-day basis. And indeed, you might even have seen adverts for it on the telly over the last few months. Microsoft is baking 365 Copilot functionality into all of its apps and into Dynamics 365, their CRM platform, which means that staff working with member data and day-to-day processes can use AI tools and chat functionality to find what they're looking for, surface insights, and spend far less time on manual tasks, such as configuring views and queries. The second tool is Microsoft AI Builder. This is a low-code platform that Microsoft has built into the configuration layer of Dynamics 365, so slightly more technical tool. And this enables organizations to incorporate AI into automations, workflows, and communication processes. And it means that you can start applying AI tools like prompts, document intelligence, scanning and reading, and predictions into your existing business processes without having to do any complex coding. And for us, that's exemplative of the a little bit of AI goes a long way paradigm, because suddenly you can make things like sentiment analysis, copy and context personalization, translating text, or simply creating useful summaries of bigger data sets, part and parcel of your routine processes. Quite frankly, we think that the Microsoft AI Builder is one of the tools that often flies under the radar when Microsoft are talking about their AI offering. So we're very excited to be planning to showcase some of its potential today. And then finally, we're going to look at Microsoft Copilot Studio, which is Microsoft's agent builder and Microsoft's hero product for AI. And for its investment in AI development, which is significant. Copilot Studio is designed to help organizations create their own specific AI assistants, chatbots, tools, without the need for complex development. And it's already reshaping how organizations work and communicate with members and their staff teams. So a very, very exciting product to be looking at. So, Chris, I'm going to hand over to you.
So as Jeremy went through on his slides, I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey traveling through degrees of complexity, but with that complexity comes personalization and that ability to make those AI tools really work for you and your organization. So we're going to start inside Dynamics. I'm going to show you what some of the out-the-box tools would look like. So when I say out-the-box, I really do mean that if you just turn on Dynamics, these are the tools that you'll get available, and then we'll go into more configurable options so we can start building things. So the first thing to point out is that Microsoft is introducing more and more AI tools, both to the base version of Dynamics, for want of a better word, but more and more inside their specific apps. So things like the sales module, case management, marketing, you're going to see a lot of AI tools starting to come up there. But if I just start on a normal contact view, so this is a list of all of my active membership, you'll start to see this little icon with the stars popping up more and more as we go through the demo. And that is giving us AI tools that we can start to dig in and understand our data a little bit better. So up in the top right hand side, I have this this view, and that's going to use a bit of AI to build out some charts and some views around these records as well. So if I just click on current, and then I'll be able to get sorry, I want to cancel it. I can get all of those types of members popping up. And in the past, building out these charts was but cumbersome. It was also a bit of an administrator role as well, or even a developer role at times. But now we see reporting and that interrogation starting to come through a lot easier as well. If we hop over Abigail, we can see there's a summary icon as well. So this is going to give me a summary of all of their CPD activities they've done, their membership grade, all of that sort of information. So without even having to open up the record, I can already start to get an idea of who this individual is. And that's also using a little bit of AI tooling as well. In the past, if we wanted to find individuals, we would have to go in and actually build out views and queries as well. We can now use natural language to do that. So I can type in, ask about this data, and ask questions like, who are my new members that were created this week, or who are my or who had done the least amount of CPD within this period. So rather than having to understand my data really, really well, we can use natural languages to type that information in and find those records. If I go into Abigail, is one of our contact records, we can also see that we have this AI summary up on the top. This is out-the-box tool, but you will need to sort of tell the system what it is that's important to you. And from here, we can get it to calculate, again, how much CPD they've earned, their membership status, and all of that kind of information. So as you can see on this contact record, we have a huge amount of tabs of different pieces of information associated with them, but you may not want to go into each of those fields and try and find all of that data. So being able to summarize that is really useful. And then again, if we go over to the contact history, and we have our list of all of our activities, we can generate summarizing those highlights using Copilot. So as you can see on this record, I've got loads of activities associated with them. And rather than having to read through all of that information, we can get a quick summary of that, that we can just understand what's, from a glance, what's been happening with this individual. I will come back to Abigail a little bit later on during this demo, but I think just suffice to say that the user experience for finding information inside the system has changed quite dramatically over the last year or two with the introduction of visualizing views and natural languages. But that finding data is becoming even more pronounced inside some of the other apps that Microsoft has available. And one of those really the sales module. So if you've never used Sales Hub, it's not always that applicable for membership organizations, but that ability to do opportunities around sponsorship or perhaps for new corporate members, you'd be going through that typical lead and opportunity sales process. And inside things like the sales module and customer service, we're starting to see a lot of tools to bring up data, but also to do actions on our behalf. And one of the things that I find quite nice for doing that data interrogation is to use what's known as the sales research agent. So if we have a look at something like research opportunities for growth, which is just one of the generic prompts that pops up, I'm just going to go in and generate that. And if you think what we did on the previous screen by using that view to create a chart of the data, this is now going to go out and build something more akin to Power BI. So if you've ever built more complex and interactive charts, then the sales research agent is one of those really cool tools to build out that data. And from here, we can see that we have a big decline in this demo environment. We can see a bit of a comparison between different individuals, Jeremy and myself within this environment, sales cycle efficiencies, etc. And then from here, we can start to go in and build and ask more questions. So which of my deals are most likely to close in this quarter, or what are the risks associated with this sponsorship opportunity? And we can really start to dig into that. And what's so nice about this is if we have a look at the different data that's available to us, yes, it is going to use our sales module information, but we can also upload things like CSVs. So if we have maybe attendance lists or surveys that we've done in other systems and we want to bring that in, and then we can even plug it into other things like Fabric as well, if we have large amounts of data in one place and we want to bring that together. So building out these sort of dashboards and reporting, sharing that and working with that is a really great way that Microsoft is moving towards making data a little bit more accessible to end users of the system. And then if I go into sort of the final one inside Dynamics, if we go over to Customer Insights, this is the marketing module for those that haven't seen it before. And if we go over to Journeys, this is where we would build out our automated marketing and communication campaigns. So if I wanted to have, let's say, a 3-part welcome campaign to a new member, I would define the audience up in the top right, send them an email, wait a week, send them an email. And these automations can become quite complex over time as well. So depending on sort of your wait conditions, and if they've done this, then execute that next activity, they can become quite complex. And what Microsoft has given us, if I just go in and create a new journey, is a way to build out these journeys using natural language processing. So we describe in our own words what it is that we're looking for. Are we looking for a welcome journey? Is it a renewal reminder journey? And again, I'm just going to use one of theirs that comes out the box, which is if a contact registers for an event, send them a reminder email, and if they don't check in for that event, which is quite relevant for many organizations. And from here, we're going to choose which webinar we want for that. And let's submit that. And we can see on the right-hand side that it's started to build out that journey for us. So let's go in and create that journey and have a look at that. So all by itself, it's created the marketing trigger. I've told it which webinar or which event I wanted it to be associated to. And then it's even looked through all of my emails and found my reminder 1 email that I built some time ago. And from there, this is now ready to send. I can save that and publish it. And that would be an active marketing event ready. Oh, sorry, marketing journey that's all ready to go. So we're finding more and more the ability for AI to do activities on our behalf inside Dynamics, the ability to summarize data, to pull out reports, and to highlight next steps for us. So the pro to all of this is that it's out the box. It comes with these systems. You don't have to do anything with it. But one of the drawbacks is that they're not highly personalized to your organization necessarily. Sometimes they are, but they're not always. So if we have particular use cases for AI that's in our minds, it may not be possible to do it with some of these tools that have come out the box. And that's why Microsoft has provided a number of other solutions that we'll have a look at. And as Jeremy mentioned, one of those is AI Builder inside Power Apps. So you'll see the word apps being tossed around quite often within the Microsoft lexicon. And really what they're referring to is applications like CRM, like membership management systems, sales, and even custom ones that you build yourselves. And what we have the ability to do is plug in AI into those activities and into those processes. So really what it says, empowering your apps with GPT. And if we go in and select prompts, you'll see that there's a number of prompts that come out the box. I will just point out a couple of them. So I think things like sentiment analysis on text is a really good example. So that ability to have a look at an email that's been tracked and saved inside Dynamics and tell me the sentiment analysis. Are they getting frustrated? Are they happy? Is this a positive or negative email? And then we can do automations on the back of that to maybe call in membership managers or account managers or anything like that. So the way I like to think of AI Builder is very similar to tools like ChatGPT or Claude, we have the ability to build a prompt. So we give it an instruction, and if I actually just go in and copy one, so I want to generate a thank you for being a member and a member benefits statement. So I want to create an email, which is thank you for being a member, and these are the things that you've gotten out of your membership. creating an email in something like ChatGPT is quite easy. We just ask it, write me an email. But what it falls short on is that it doesn't have access to our data. So if we want to build one for Abigail as an example, external tools are not going to know how many CPD activities she's done, as an example, or how many events she has attended. So we have the ability to build out these prompts and give it access not only to our entire Dynamics if we want to, but to specific fields. So if we want to have a look at something like a membership history, we then have the ability to bring in from Dataverse, which is the database behind Dynamics, we can bring in contact information. And from that contact information, we can then go in and search for any number of fields. So if we say something like membership join date, as an example, we can add those fields in. We can say maybe things like job title, any number of fields that we want to add in. We can then add that into our prompt. And what that's going to then do is, as it builds out these this information, it's going to look at those fields and try and understand a little bit more about that contact within the context. So I'm going to show you that in action for a second. So once we build out our prompts, how do we actually use that? Well, we do that inside Power Automate. So we have the ability, for those of you who've seen Power Automate before, this is how we do some automations inside the system. And once again, we can see things like Copilot coming to the surface to actually help us build out these automations. And so if I go back to Abigail for a second, we'll see that on Abigail's record, we have a little toggle to generate a member benefit statement. So I'm just going to go in, I'm going to save that record. Let's just hop over to our Power Automate again. So what this is going to do is it's going to, when that record gets toggled to run that benefit statement, it's going to run that prompt that we built in the background. And if I just go and open that up for a second, we can see that this is a far more complex task prompt than the one I just wrote, and it's giving it a lot more guidance as to how it should be writing out this information. But you can see all of the different fields that we've asked it to look at. So for things like events, look at the registrations. For things like your LMS or learning integrations, see what the progress is of their courses, their CPD that they've done. All of this information that we have access to within Dynamics, we can now give access to inside our prompts. And then after that process is run on the contact record, we should then find our member benefit statement. We just go in and open that up for a second. And that will then be able to summarize all of that information, build out that document for us. Where have you gone? There we go. And there's our benefit statement that was just created. And from there, it's going to go in and understand the financial highlights, the engagement, the membership, and even some recommendations for next year. So things like get them to attend the annual conference, enrolling in CPD programs, etc. So just using a little bit of AI, as Jeremy said, we can now really revolutionize and personalize most of our processes as well. Let me just bring this up. And again, you can think of loads of different use cases for this. If I just go back into our prompts, so that ability to extract information out of images, so people uploading certificates to validate that, to respond to emails and complaints and things like that. There's a lot that we can do. But so the drawback is it's all living inside Dynamics. That's not necessarily a bad thing because we need all the Dynamics data. But what if we want things that are living on our website? Or what if we want to do automations that doesn't only involve Dynamics, but might look at things like Outlook or Excel, things like that? How can we start to do that? And the answer is using Copilot Studio. So if I move over to Copilot Studio, this is where we'll build out our own assistants and our own agents. So if you think of something like ChatGPT, we give it questions, maybe we give it a little bit of knowledge, and it can go off and answer those questions for us and do things on our behalf. But really, one of the limitations of LLMs traditionally is that they are somewhat, they're more of a brain than a body that can do things for us. So If we want to build out an agent that can actually do things, we're going to use Copilot Studio to do that. And if I go over to my agents, we can see that we have quite a list of different agents that are available to us. And I'm just going to go very quickly, and I'm going to create a blank agent, so from scratch, just sort of show you a bit of the layout of how these agents work. And then I'll run you through one or two more complicated assistants. Well, not complicated, but complex use cases. So the first thing I want to do is I want to build an assistant that can look at our website and give our visitors access and information around that. So I'm going to do that by going into my agent. Let me just go create from scratch again. It's this one over here. And from here, we'll be able to give it all of that information that we need. So if we look at the agent, we're going to give it instructions. Now, for this particular one, it's going to be quite basic instructions. So let's just say, answer user questions about the Smart Impact website. Very basic. I'm not going to tell it how to answer. I'm not going to tell it the things to avoid or anything like that. What I wanted to do is be able to answer those questions. And we are going to give it a knowledge source, which is probably the most important thing around these assistants. So I'll just go in and add knowledge. You will see that there's loads of different knowledge sources available. So things like Dataverse, so we can ground this agent in Dataverse, which becomes really important if we do things like a web assistant or a portal assistant. It can then answer questions and do things on our behalf. But we're going to do just a public website, which is going to be the Smart Impact website, and we will add that into the agent. And just like that, we have a very basic assistant that can answer questions about the website. So I can say, does Smart Impact have an AI offering? And it will then go out, look at the website, and be able to answer those questions. What I did do, though, which I probably should have turned off, is have web search. This is going to allow it to search the rest of the web as well, which sometimes is beneficial, but sometimes it's not. So if you think of this agent could then be published, if we go over to our channels, we have loads of different places that we can publish this agent to. So we can put it on our website, we can put it inside Teams, we can even embed it in things like WhatsApp for back and forth communication. So that's a really basic assistant. But I think it has some really nice use cases and things like internal uses around maybe things like upgrade paths or member benefits for different membership grades. This could be used internally as well. So we could give the agent that knowledge and then publish that internally so that our staff inside things like Teams, they would be able to then ask and answer those questions. But this goes quite close to what we can do inside things like Claude and ChatGPT. And you can even see on the model, we are using GPT-5. So it's a nice brain, but what if we want to actually give it some arms and legs to be able to do things? So for that, I will go over to, it's another agent that I built. So this one's called the Upgrade Path, and it's an Outlook agent. And what I've done with this one is, again, we've given it instructions, but the use case around this is that I want the agent to watch my Outlook. And when we receive emails around certain topics in my Outlook, I want it to immediately and automatically understand those topics and then reply to those emails if possible. So for this one, it's a very specific use case. If people email me and they're asking about what are the upgrade options, I want the Outlook agent to be able to, that we built, to be able to look at that email and then reply. And so to facilitate this, I've built this little document, which would be just an internal knowledge source. You could link it to SharePoint and other things. And this is just really telling me my upgrade path. So if I'm gold, I can go to platinum and unlimited. Here's some of the membership benefits and things like that. And so I've given it the instructions of what it wants to do. I haven't really told it how to reply. So all I've said is you'll be triggered by the Outlook agent, read it and reply. I've then given it that knowledge. So previously we gave it the website. I've now given it a document, but you could also do things like SharePoint. So if you have a bit more information We can then give it that as well. We could give it access to our Microsoft information. But then critically, what I've done is I've given it tools now as well. So if we go over to tools, we will see that I have this ability to send an email, and I can click on a tool and you see there's loads of different tools. So inside things like Dataverse, update a new record in Dynamics, or update a spreadsheet. And this is where we start to give our LLMs, our AIs, arms and legs to be able to do things on our behalf. So if I go over to my inbox, so I've created an email around upgrade options. This is going to go to me in my Outlook. I'm just going to send that. That will then take a few moments to arrive in my Outlook. And then a few moments after that, it will start to trigger the process in the background of the agent. And what I would then expect this to do is I would like to see this email arrive in my Outlook. And then I want to be able to see this triggering in the background. So there's my email from Abigail. Hey, I'm currently Gold member. And now in the background, what it's going to do is it's going to be triggered by this new email arriving. It's going to read the email. It's going to read through the upgrade paths. And then I would expect to see that email come back. It can take a few seconds to a few minutes, depending on how complex the scenario is. So we'll give that a moment just to do its thing in the background. But while it does that, if we go over to back to our agent, we can see that in the activity, we can see the different things that it's been doing in the past and the steps that it's been taking. So if I go over to this one, which is one that I ran a little bit earlier this morning, we can see that this email arrived, and we can see that this is the email that it created and sent back as well. And the really interesting thing is that I never asked it, or I never actually told it how to reply to these emails. So I didn't say address them by their first name or anything like that. If we go over to the send an email, all I said is actually send it to myself, so that it always comes back to my email. But the subject and body, it can come up with on its own accord as well, which is quite cool. So I'll let that run in the background, but I'm just a bit conscious of time. So I'm going to move on to the next one, and the final one that we have. And that is linking in a little bit more Dynamics data, linking in a bit more guidance around how we work. So I think one of the things that it's a bit stressful when we're onboarding a new AI tool is that something like this. So if I just go back to my Outlook agent again, if I look at the tool and I say to it, whatever you say in the body and the subject, you can just make it up and you use your own prerogative to come up with that content. It can be a bit scary because you don't always know what the AI is actually going to say at the end of the day. And there's a lot of testing and guidance that we need to give that. And to that effect, what we want to do is we also have the ability to add a bit more guidance. So things like a web assistant, maybe we don't want it to be free text if it's a membership assistant that's going to help somebody to upgrade their membership or register for an event. Maybe we want it to be a little bit more prescriptive around that. So what we've built is, if you see down on the right-hand side, we know we're talking to Abigail because we pulled their contact record information in. So imagine this was on your portal, and we're going to guide somebody through the upgrade path of, or how to upgrade and actually execute that upgrade for them. So we can say, what can we help you with today? My membership, CPD, events. I'm going to go over to my membership, and I'm going to click on that. And now, rather than generating a whole bunch of free text stuff, we can see that we're able to guide them down paths that we've defined for them. So it says, sure, we can help you with that. What do you want to do? I want to find out about different membership grades, or do I want to change my membership grade? So if we're going to click on change membership grade, that will then give us a branch and ask, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to upgrade your membership? Do you want to downgrade your membership? And, maybe we want to add a little bit of friction in the downgrade process. So if somebody selects downgrade my membership, we're going to say, we're not actually able to process downgrades. You can call the office on this number, but we as membership organization would like to know that this person is looking to downgrade their membership. And to that effect, we can update a record inside CRM and actually flag this individual as at risk. And once we flag them as at risk, we could do all sorts of things. We could go back into customer insights to our journeys, and we could send them automation and communication around this, and maybe give them some incentive to stay, or we can simply flag this to an account manager or membership manager to have a look at that. But if I say, you know what, I want to upgrade my membership, well, we're quite happy to do that. And it says, well, that's great. Do you know what membership you'd like to upgrade to? And if we don't know, so maybe we want to find out a little bit more about our options and our benefits. Again, very similar to the Outlook Assistant. We want to know what upgrade options are available to us. We can then pull in a little bit of generative answers, a little bit of AI. So this is now free text from the agent, and it's going to say, you know, as a platinum member, you can move up to the unlimited membership. And then if we're ready to proceed with that membership upgrade, we can say, yes, I'm ready. And now inside Dynamics, we can trigger that whole process. And again, there's our little green icon for Dynamics, and it's gone in and it's created a new membership, or it's gone through that renewal process, or it's gone through that event registration process, whatever it is that you're looking to do. You can now use AI to really funnel and guide that user. So rather than adding friction and rather than getting someone confused about the events that they should attend, we can now offer them an entire list of those events and register them inside Dynamics. Jeremy, I'm going to leave it there and hand over to you for wrap up, if you don't mind.
To wrap things up, look, the shift to AI is already underway. 76% of knowledge workers are already using AI, and studies have shown that this is leading to significant time savings in businesses. For instance, a UK government survey recently found that civil servants save around 10 hours a month by using AI tools. For this reason, a Microsoft survey also found that 84% of chief executives and business leaders are planning to introduce AI-based products and services into their offerings in the near future, which means it's not a question of if, but when organizations start to adopt AI seriously. So as you think about what's next, please approach AI strategically and make sure you have a technology stack and a technology partner who can support you with innovation. We hope that the key takeaways from today's session will be that the case for investing in AI is enormous, and you may not even have to spend a lot of time to get started because there are probably tools available in your digital applications that you're not taking advantage of. Combining AI tools with your data can unlock massive automation and personalization benefits. And I hope that Chris has been able to show you this morning that Dynamics 365 offers an incredible opportunity for you to do that. And there is a wider set of tools in the ecosystem that also can access information, use that to personalize outputs and make your communications and other services much more relevant to people using it. And finally, and there was a great question during the presentation around this. Microsoft tools really do provide the gold standard in terms of privacy, security, and compliance, which means that organizations can put in place appropriate guardrails for how their staff are using those tools. Obviously, organizations always remain in charge of how they use AI and have to make sure that it's adopted and used appropriately. But by investing in Microsoft, you're putting yourself in absolutely the best possible place to do that. So look, to wrap things up, if anything that we've talked about this morning has been of interest and you'd like to explore things further, we would love to continue the conversation with you. And there's a few different ways that we could do that. We offer 30-minute AI reviews where we'll get together, try and get an idea of what you're currently doing or what you want to do with AI, and help you to start a roadmap for AI adoption, which is aligned to your organization's goals. I think, as I've stressed several times throughout the presentation, we have been doing AI projects with clients for over 3 years now, and so we've got a lot of experience and a lot of examples of how other membership organisations have used AI that we can bring to the table. And we think that it's really helpful for organisations to think about what others are doing, but also we've seen that that builds confidence, sparks ideas, and helps organisations get moving on the initiatives that they already have in mind. And finally, we'd love to discuss AI use cases with you, the creativity and ambition for the use of AI, and this is understood by Smart Impact, and it's understood by Microsoft as well, always comes from the businesses that are going to be using that technology to engage with their customers and their members. And so we'd love to hear your ideas and perhaps give you some pointers on the best way to get started. If you'd like to arrange a follow-up conversation, my contact details are on the screen, so please feel free to use those. And as I say, I hope that this has given you some ideas about how you could start using AI tools in a practical way. I also want to take the opportunity to plug some forthcoming opportunities for us to engage with you further. Smart Impact runs regular webinars every month or sometimes every couple of months. The next webinar we're running is about being digitally resilient. It's more of a sort of governance focused session. That will be on the 12th of May at 9:30. We always run our webinars on Tuesday mornings at 9:30. So please feel free to register, and you can find more details about all of our events on our website. So that just leaves me to say thank you very, very much for joining us. I hope this has been interesting. Be great to hear from you. And thank you very much for joining us this morning. And Chris, thanks for a great demo.
My pleasure.